Hey everyone, Derek Malone here from the Model Schools team. And before I turn things over to Brittany, I just want to go through a couple things of our upcoming webinars, and then from there we can get started with our presentation for today. So first things first, and I know for those of you that have been participating in our sessions, we just kind of go through what's coming up. So tomorrow on the schedule, we have flippity.net. Which is a website that we can use to convert Google spreadsheets into online flashcards and a lot of different other activities. Lori Yeager is going to be hosting that one. And then on Friday, for those of you that haven't had a chance to see our Nearpod demonstrations yet, we're going to be doing another Nearpod session at 2 p.m. tomorrow. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And with that, I am going to turn things over to Brittany.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to screen here, and I'm going to get started. So welcome to Choose Your Own Adventure. This presentation, which I see a lot of you were able to get into, is available right in the description of the YouTube link. So you'll be able to access this later on, as there are really great resources that you might want to come back to. And then I'll kind of use these slides kind of back and forth during our half hour. So in this webinar video today, I'm going to share some examples of Choose Your Own Adventure stories, as well as some rationale behind why we might pick them. Then we'll head into Google slide branching. So that's kind of how you create your Google Choose Your Own branching. And lastly, I'm going to show you other ways you can make your Google Slides interactive. So maybe Choose Your Own Adventure isn't your thing. So we'll dive into a few other tips and tricks that you can use to make your slides interactive for the students. So we'll look at an infinite cloner. We'll look at linking these slides to Google Classroom the right way so kids can actually work with them and manipulate them. And then also some share settings. So let's get into why, who, what, where, when with the Choose Your Own Adventure. So obviously teachers and students can actually make and create these. So a lot of time we look at these as teacher tools, but students can also make them too to show their learning. So what are they? They are interactive stories that integrate disguised teaching. So students can make choices along the way. Where we make these right within Google Slides, we can make them anytime. And how we do that by linking text boxes or choices to another slide within our Google Slide presentation. And that's that branching that I will talk about more and show you. Now, here's the most important part, right? The why, right? This is key. Why do these Choose Your Own Adventures? So first of all, they're a teaching tool for all subject areas. The next slide I'm going to show you is a slide that has examples from a course that I just ran with many teachers, and they created their own Choose Your Own Adventures. And I thought, what better way to share examples with you than highlight examples that real teachers have done and created for their students that they're able to use right away. They're great as review material, and they're also great when introducing a new topic too. You can use Choose Your Own Adventure stories to model writing techniques, but they can also be used as guided practice. So if a student does make a wrong choice, we can easily make, turn them to another slide so they can learn from their mistakes. And then, of course, that student ownership piece. Students can create their own slide as a teaching tool for their classmates and demonstrate that learning as well. So they can be shared on Google Classroom, which is awesome. Okay. So here are a bunch of different examples. I'm not going to go through them all because, like I said, you'll have this after the fact, after this webinar, to go in and see some real student examples. But you can see each of the categories that were done. I want to go ahead and show you a math example by Trevor Haskell. He did an awesome job. And all of these are linked. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Okay. I'm going to leave my screen out of present mode for now, so you can go ahead and see kind of the inner workings of the choose your own adventure. So this is kind of where we can see how it works and how it's put together. So he has his question and his prompt, and then here's his first question. Can you figure out what the correct area is below? So he wants to make sure he has the right area of wood flooring. So when you click one of these options, do you see how below it's linked slide 3? Whereas this one is linked to slide 4. So it's going to take you to different parts of the presentation. So he was told that the area is an even number. So let's figure out. So I'm going to put it in present mode, just as the kids would. And let's see what happens if we decide that 158 times 4 is an even number. It brings me to that is correct, right? And then a further explanation of why it's correct and how that works. And then it brings you to even more choices here. Now, if I go back and select the incorrect answer, it takes me to, whoops. And then he gives a little hint along the way to help students make the right choice. And then instead of just letting them move on, he says, return to slide 2. So that will bring them back to that original question that they need to work on. So again, this is all done by that Google slide branching. So I'm going to go ahead and escape. So he continues going on this path for all of his slides. So as you click, come in, and answer the questions, it takes you to the right answer or that you maybe got the question wrong. So this is a great way to incorporate math into your choose your own adventure. I'm going to head back over to the rest of our examples here. Another really great one was the social studies grand tour of New York State that Gina did. And this one doesn't necessarily have right or wrong answers. It just takes students on a tour, a self-guided tour that they get to create of New York State. So we start here at the city of Sherrill, and then she asks, where would you like to go next? So the students get to make a choice. So if I click Lake George, it takes me here, and then it tells me a little bit about Lake George. Where would I like to go next? Statue of Liberty sounds fun. Take me away. And again, more information there. So this one doesn't necessarily have right or wrong answers, but more of just an exploratory, actually a choose your own adventure. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of what they can be, right? It's the idea that we're letting students make choices, whether it's just a fun, creative story, or whether it's, disguised teaching with those math problems. And Jay actually did a rock identification for his science class, which I thought was really cool. It takes me back to my earth science days, which I didn't always love, but I think he did an awesome job with this and kids will like it. So he has this story that they found these rocks at Watkins Glen and need to determine what the rock is. So as they decide what they actually picked up, they can click through. So if your rock you brought here, chances are it's sedimentary. So if your rock has a fossil in it, click here. And it does. So it kind of takes them through those steps of reviewing the types of rocks that they could come across. So I think that is a really awesome way to review science. So lots of options here. I hope that you're seeing those options as we work through, so that way you're able to maybe get some ideas sparked and making your own. So before we get into showing you how to branch Google Slides, I do want to show you a planning template. Now, everyone plans differently. Some prefer paper pencil, some prefer this type of digital format for planning. So I've created, well, actually not me only, a few of my colleagues as well, made this template. And if you click the image here later on, it'll give you a blank copy of this template. So it can kind of help you in the planning process of your Google branching, of your Google slide branching. And I'm going to actually use this, this one, to plan and show you the Google branching and how that works in Google Slides. So again, if you click here later on, it'll take you to your own blank template, not this picture. So let's go in and I'm going to show you how we branch. So let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to open up the storyboard just in a bigger view. Okay. And I'm going to be kind of toggling back and forth because this is kind of the planning where I did all of my ideas, and then this is how I want to take it to Google Slides. So you'll see here, slide 1 should be my title and author slide. So I have that here. So it's called Knight and Troll. And then slide 2 is the description of my story. So I just Control C to copy and pasted that here on slide 2. So again, no branching yet, nothing crazy. It's just a normal old Google slide for right now. But here is when we get into the branching. So I'll make this a little bit bigger, just so you can see. Not too big. My goodness, technology today. So is terrified, what would he do? So that is going to be the first question that I ask the kids on slide 3. So then they will get to pick, he drew his sword, he ran away, or he introduced himself. So there will be 3 different options there for them to pick. And depending on which option they pick, so if he picks, the knight draws his sword, it will take them to slide 4. If they pick ran away, it'll take them to slide 5. And the story will then change from there. So let's go to slide 3, since that's my first question. So it says, the knight is terrified, what would he do? So I started making text boxes here. He would draw his sword. I'm going to change that to draw. Draw his sword, run away, or introduce himself. So to make a new text box, you go up to the top of your screen here, click and drag. And I like to put a little outline around it by changing the border color, just so it's easy to pick from. Okay, and then so those are my 3 options, right? But now I need to link them. So this is why the planning is kind of important, right? I know I need slide 4, slide 5, and slide 6. So I went and created blank slides here, slide 4, slide 5, and slide 6. And I did that by clicking the plus sign and then a blank slide. So now slide 4, I need to say that he drew his sword, right? And then I'm obviously not making this pretty for the sake of time right now. And then my 2 options for 4 were that the troll drew his club or he went back under the bridge. Oh my goodness. Okay. So now I can go back and link. If he drew his sword, it's going to take me to slide 4. So this is the most important part. I'm going to click on the text box, right click, and choose link. And I want to link it to a slide in this presentation, and I need to link it to slide 4. So I'm going to scroll all the way down until I see slide 4 as an option. So now if I put this in present mode and I click that he will draw his sword, it takes me to that slide. And then I would go through and do the same thing. I need to make sure that I make my slide 5, that the knight ran away. And that the troll chased, or the troll didn't follow. Okay, so now that I have slide 5 ready to go, I can link he ran away, since that is supposed to take me to slide 5. So I'm going to right click here, link, slide in the presentation, and that should take me to slide 5. I hope that is making sense with the linking. So it really is the plan that takes the most time when you're trying to decide how you want to branch and really how many slides you need to create. And then just plugging them in as you go. So now when I click present, I'll go back to the beginning. I read my story, and now I think he would run away. So that will take me to, whoops. Did I just mess that up? Oh, I didn't link that one. That's right. So let's see. Oh my goodness, nothing is clicking here. Okay. My links must have not saved. I'm sorry about that. So again, draw his sword. That's going to take you to 4. Apply. I think that's what I did not click in my haste. And then link. This one goes to slide 5. So make sure to hit that apply button. Going live has a whole other feel to it. Apply. Okay. Whew. So now we're good. So when you hover over the text box here, you should see that it's linked there to slide 6. And I'm assuming that that one still did not go. Bear with me. There we go. Oof, my goodness. Okay. So now they will all link to the right slides and take me as I choose the adventure. So let's give it a go. If he runs away, it'll take me to the knight ran away and then my other 2 options. Perfect. So that's exactly what I need. I'm not obviously going to go through all of this, but the key to branching within Google Slides is hitting that right click option, link, and then within this presentation, and then of course your planning. I don't see any questions in the chat as of now. Thank you for bearing with me during not being able to get those to link right away, but that is really how you set those up as far as branching in Google Slides. And again, you have copies of those completed Google Slides, so you can see how that works. So go back. Okay. And again, that template for planning is right there below the description, right in your in the YouTube description, the link for this slide. Okay. So branching is awesome, but maybe you're not ready to create a whole story yet, because it does, take some creativity and some time. So maybe you're not ready to create a full story. Maybe you just want to make some interactive slide choices for your kids. So the best way I like to describe interactive activities is kind of taking your basic worksheet example and turning it digital. So I'm showing you now a hyper slide example. You may have heard of a hyper doc. It's really the same idea. It's just taking a Google slide or a Google Doc and inserting links or things for students to look at and respond to. So I really liked this example, this discover versus reflect. So you could put a picture here, you could put a quote, you could put a URL as I have here. and then have the students answer along the side. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a graded assignment, but you could give a prompt and then have them reflect on that idea. The bottom one, I have them here visiting a link on the Smithsonian's website and just writing down some facts. So this is just a cool way to take an activity and make it digital. And I'll show you really quickly how I did that. So what I did here, I just inserted a table. So I'm going to create a new slide so I can do this with you live. So you would insert a table by going to Insert, Table, and then deciding how many rows or columns you have here. And then I just made it bigger. Okay, and I put my headings up here. And then I found a picture by going to Insert Image, Search the Web. And I was able to find an image here. I'm not going to find the same quote again, but and drag that in. And then I just put it in the box, gave them a prompt, and then the kids will be able to type on this side. Same thing with a link. You can insert a link a lot of different ways. You can click up at the top where it says Insert Link and paste the link here, and then you can put text above it. So let's say I wanted to link really anything. You would paste the URL here, and then you could put the text here. So that's how it would show up for them. I'll make it bigger. That's how the text would show up. So, and it'll give them a little image too of what they're about to click. So you can put those hyperlinks, right? A hyper slide, we call it, since it's in Google Slides, right within. So I liked this example here because it gives the kids a chance to reflect and show what they've learned. Now, the other really awesome thing you can do in slides is create an infinite cloner manipulatives for your kids. So I posed a question here. Use the unit blocks to create a rectangle with an area of 24 units. There may be more than one way. So what I really want the students to do is use the square to create a rectangle with these units, so testing their math. Now you'll notice when I just went to drag that square, there's not a lot of them. So I'm going to show you how to create that infinite cloner so you can make all sorts of manipulatives. So by hitting Command D on the keyboard, and it might be Control D depending on your keyboard, you can duplicate here. And then once you think you have enough, you're going to highlight, right click, and you're going to align horizontally left. Then you're going to right click again and align vertically top. So now they're all together, but as you click and drag, there's as many as you duplicated. And I'll show you again, because just in case you wanted more, if you're thinking, oh, darn it, I don't think I made enough for them to use, you can do that process again. So highlight, Command or Control D, click and drag to highlight just those images you made, right click, align left, and then align vertically top. And then that creates that space. Whoops, hang on. There we go. And we could move these back over. There we go. I just had to click off of it. So the kids can now take those and drag. Now I set this page setup to be portrait. So that's what allows all of this extra space here for kids to work with. So to do that, if you want it to be portrait mode, if you like all of this space on the side, if you're thinking, ooh, I could put pictures here for the kids to drag and match, or I could put text boxes here to drag over for rhyming words, whatever you're thinking could go in this outside space as their workspace, and then here being their final product. If you go up to File, Page Setup, you can customize your page. So it's usually set to standard, but if you go down to custom and type in 8.5 by 11, you'll get that basic sheet of paper there, which creates the room on the side to create that workspace for students. So I know these are, what I showed you today are pretty simple, but the steps and tools made to create these will really be able to make you some really awesome creative examples and manipulatives that you can use in your classroom. So I kept it kind of simple for today to show, but you can use these tools really for anything. So I just wanted to give you a few ideas. The possibilities are endless. You could create graphic organizers for kids, flashcards, lab reports, virtual notebooks, right? Just by adding, if you had like a piece of text here or a picture, right? And then by having them just respond below, right? That's the most basic. And you can use those shapes to create any graphic organizer that you'd like. There's shapes right up here, really fun ones too. And the last step I want to show you, so if you want to make these so the students are manipulating them and using their own copy to hand into you, there are two ways you can do it. So when you go to Google Classroom, if you're using Google Classroom, I'll show you two different ways. I'm going to go to Classroom. In order to share these with the kids, to create an assignment, it has to be an assignment. So to create these for the kids, you're going to click Assign. I'm going to say testing. And you're going to add from Google Drive. And the key here is that anything you've created, if you want them to have their own copy, so if you want them to have their own copy right here, you would click Make a Copy for each student. So that assigns the template that you made for them to type into to each and every student. And then once they've filled it in for you, then you will be able to see every person. So you make a copy for each student. That would be the key there if you're sharing within Google Classroom. I see a question from Mike. So I could take existing Google Docs and then copy and paste portions of them into Google Slides. Yes, you totally can. Yep, you can copy and paste right into Google Slides and it will work pretty easily. Google Slides makes everything really easy to manipulate. That's why I love working inside of Google Slides a little bit more than Docs and even drawings actually. So the share portion there, make a copy for each student. So that way you get to keep that nice, awesome template that you made, and then the students just type into it. Now, the other way, if you're not using Google Classroom, and if you just have Google Slides set up for your kids, you can do this. Okay, so here's the trick. Right now, if I were to share this, and I've shared it with you, right now it's anyone with a link can view. So if you had opened this, you wouldn't be able to really manipulate anything. But we want the students to be able to manipulate and hand in their own copy. So up here at the top, everything after this backslash, so the edit, hashtag, slide, all of that, you're going to take that and delete it. And you're going to type in the word copy. Once you've typed the word copy, hit return or enter. It's going to take you to the screen here. So it's going to force this person with the link to make a copy. So when I click this, make a copy, and of course it's not quite loading. There we go. It becomes now mine. It's only shared with me for right now, and it'll say copy of interactive ideas. So now it's only my copy. So if we go back here, whoops, I'm going to go back to my normal copy. So again, you're going to take everything after that edit, make it copy, hit return, and then this is the link that you're going to share out. So maybe it's in an email, maybe it's posted to a website. This would be the link that you copy and paste for someone to be able to access those share settings. So I hope you found that helpful, that little tip if you're not using Google Classroom. Okay. So I'm going to return to our last slide here. So these were some of the tips that I just went over for you in writing, along with that sharing outside of Google Classroom trick. I posted that here, making a copy of each student. I did do a screen recording of that infinite cloner, so you can go back and view that after, as I know those directions were probably a little fast. And then reminder of that page setup that really creates the awesome sidebars for the kids to be able to work and manipulate. Oh, yep, Melissa, that trick will always work as long as you have your share settings. Here, let me go here. As long as you have your share settings set to anyone with the link can view, and then you turn it into the copy just like we did up here, then it will always work. Just make sure your share settings are anyone with a link or within your school's domain. So if you, wherever you are a teacher, you can just share it with those people within your domain too. And that copy trick will always work. So I apologize for the branching in the beginning to being a little scattered. Live is a whole new ball game, but thank you for tuning in today, and I hope that kind of inspired some of your integration and interactive brain power to make some really awesome work in your classroom, and obviously to share out with kids. So again, I am Brittany Gaffney. I'm an integration tech specialist, and feel free to reach out with me with any of these other resources, and thank you so much for tuning in today.
And just to let everybody know, we'll hang out for a couple minutes in case anybody has any other questions for us. And just another brief reminder, I just put it in the chat, but underneath the webinar, in the description, you can see the hyperlink for Brittany's presentation. And also, if you did not say hello in the chat and you want credit for participating in today's webinar, just be sure to throw it in the chat and we'll be sure to get you checked off.